Hello, my name is Liudas Karnickas. I'm a board member of Lithuanian DPO Association. I'm very happy to be your host for the second session of today's annual Data Protection Conference. And I'm especially glad that we have lots in this conference what actually matters. First, it's great people. We will have world-renowned scholars. We will have internationally successful businessmen and consultants on board in this panel. Also, this panel will be about useful content, about what's new, about advancing technologies. We will hear such buzzwords as Metaverse, as self-explaining AI, as AI-driven marketing automation, genetics, zero-party data. They are strong words, right? But it is also a useful content. The panelists will say how it will change our lives, how it will change the perception of privacy, how it will affect the way marketers attract digital attention, how we get more data, how we convince data subjects to give their data away. And third, this panel is about the importance of values. That's especially actual today. Panelists will call not to forget them when we are evaluating companies, when we are evaluating our privacy processes and our technology tools. So let's keep our values tight. And without further ado, I'm inviting our first speaker. It's Mindaugas Civilka, a partner at TGS Law, responsible for technology practice. And he will invite us to his Metaverse apartment and will say how it's really like to live in there. So Mindaugas, please go on.
Thank you, Liudas. Good afternoon once again. So let's rumble and let's get into the Metaverse narrative. Indeed, the Metaverse is not a new concept, and it's a very old concept which basically dates back to the origin of the human being. And philosophers such as Plato and other ancient Greek, Roman philosophers were always more or less trying to understand whether what we see, whether what we hear, what we smell is a real thing, or whether this is something which is alternative reality, which is more real. In other words, it's in our human nature to question what is real and what is not real. On the other hand, human nature requires us to escape to other realities where we are more safe, where we have more comfort, where we are safe from the dangers, from the violence, from the terrors of the physical so-called environment. We all understand and we all remember our path to the virtual dreamland where no horrors, no physical violence, no aggression happens. So it's in our nature. However, new technology made this runaway to the other alternative or other environment more real, or at least to look more real. However, the Metaverse concept was coined by Neil Stephenson in its Snow Crash novel 1992, and it has not been till last year when Metaverse as the concept has regained its popularity by introduction of Meta as a company, by introduction as a Meta, as a future social networking. However, don't be mistaken. As I've said in the very beginning, the quest which I have for today and the challenge which I have for today is to understand what and who has said that the reality based on physical artifacts, the reality based on our physical appearance, physical brain, is indeed the real reality. What if our real reality is only simulation? What if it's our brains who are connected all together in a matrix-type connection? We are connected in the community, society, region, and voila, world is only connected in brains, nothing more. There is no possibility to prove that the reality based on the physical paradigm is real. That's why the metaverse is a quest for the other reality, and we'll see how quickly it will happen. There is a lot of buzz and confusion in definition. Therefore, I need to eradicate this confusion by saying that, look, there is no one single platform so far which is safely called the metaverse. There are many competing platforms by Google, by Meta, by Microsoft, by Nvidia, by Fortnite, Epic Game, by Roblox, by Minecraft. I mean, there are many still in rudimentary stages. They are competing with each other, but what's more important, they are competing with the reality based on our physical nature. And you know what? They are competing not only for the attention and time of the human being spent in the platform, but they're also competing for the paradigm which will change and which will prevail. Now we all understand, right, that the prevailing metaverse we are living in is the real or physical artifact-based society, which is enforced by state, which is enforced by state-driven laws. Let's look at my online or virtual apartment in Spatial I/O. It's very cozy. I would say this is my house, this is my home. It's me, myself, my avatar, which was basically designed by myself on the basis of my selfie and which was done by the artificial intelligence on the basis of my picture. And this is myself sitting on the couch looking through the window. On the surface, it's fancy, but in reality, there are many questions which are very important and very difficult to answer from the legal point of view. Just imagine there were some guests who were entering my apartment, and you know, my first impression was that I was not that happy. Then I made the settings that no one except those who are invited by myself are welcome in this apartment or in this field. However, I was driven by the suspicion that those first entering persons were not real and those were more bots than real persons. That's why I need to come back to the differences between the physical, let's say, environment and physical society and other societies which are concerned alternative by the physical society. And physical society is driven by traditional law. Upon birth we receive a contract. Which is the social contract we have with the state which is based on our physical artifacts. What is birth and what is the moment of birth is designed and is defined by the state. There are societies which say that person is alive before biological birth happens. And there are societies which say that the person is really alive only after 1 year after the birth is made. It's decided by state. Then, upon maturity, you are onboarded, you receive the citizenship, you receive the passport, and again, it's state who decides, centrally run system which decides whether to issue you the passport or not, and basically this is driven by the presumption that unless dead or unless you are incapacitated, you have the right to receive the passport. It's very centrally governed, centrally run. The second feature which is indispensable for the person to live in the traditional law paradigm, apart from legal capacity, is the will. My will and my autonomy. My capacity to make the contracts and to interact with other people. Again, state recognizes this strictly according to the rules. If I do anything which is not according to the rules, this is not recognized and this is not defended and protected by state. But if I do it correctly, in the correct way, I sign the contract and register it in the correct way, blah, blah, then it's enforced. And the third element necessary for me as a person to exist under law is my data, my privacy, which is the personal trait of my integrity. And this is defended and protected by GDPR, the Constitution. Look how this will change and this perception will change and is changing in the virtual reality. Let's start from the beginning. Legal capacity. Who decides who has the right to become the avatar and who decides who has the right to become the subject in the metaverse? Don't spoil this thing. The metaverse future, it's only rudimentary things, but the metaverse future is that there will be just one universal thing which you can't jump from platform to platform. Now there are many platforms. You can switch off from one account and to create another avatar, but in the real metaverse there would just be one metaverse. And how this will be managed, my onboarding will happen. Because now my onboarding in Spatial I/O took 1 second. Nobody checked whether I'm a real person or not. But how I can be sure that the person who is interacting with me is correctly verified, how I am sure that he is really existing and he's not a bot? Because we all know the harassment, harassment cases from 2021. It's very easy to harass somebody and to behave in rude and violent way through the mask of avatar, right? Therefore, verification is very important, straight, and this will change the perception, and this will change the way the identity and onboarding is managed. And now we see that more and more regulators and more visionaries are talking about the decentralized identity management as opposed to the central identity management run by state. And more narrative is saying that, look, you will be controlling what are you yourself, and you will be controlling your data. You will receive some identity credentials from the government and blah, 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 and store them in the digital wallet. But you know what? The other receivers will not receive your data. They will only receive through the blockchain-based ledger confirmation that you are real. And all the data will be kept in your wallet safely, not on the ledger, so that nobody can access it. So the changing perception of the digital identity management is something which is at the core of the legal capacity on the metaverse. The second important item is myself equal avatar. No duality. Avatar's generated data is my data, and avatar is not my mask. Because in ancient Greek and in ancient Roman systems, it was forbidden for the people to make interactions through mask. It was forbidden to enter into contract through mask. You know why? Because it was more or less evidence that the people behave differently in case they have mask on them, because they behave not as if they are real, and they can conceal, they hide behind that. So for that, it's very important to understand that the data perception and privacy perception changes totally. If you are on the virtual metaverse, basically you are disclosing all your DNA. Because you will be more, I mean, on one hand, your avatar will be enhanced and improved all the way by the AI on the basis of what your, face looks like and what your eyes are moving where. On the other hand, the content you will be showed will be more and more based on the biological features, and you will be only feed it more and more the biologically attractive content by way of advertising and so on. So basically, the concept which is, and perception which is evolving is the upside down from the GDPR, which requires the sensitive data, the biological data, to be kept strictly under control and not to be transferred, well, especially not to be transferred globally. The metaverse requires all your DNA to be disclosed. However, of course, the matter is who will control that. And the last but not the least, so more and more state regulation monopoly no longer viable, and the citizenship, nationality no longer important. These notions are going away in the metaverse, and we are more or less, we need to understand that we are changing more or less the platforms for the virtual reality. And the only question which I have is who will control this reality and who will control my data? And there are only three possible answers: myself, the platform, and the state. Hopefully, the first will be the reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Mindaugas. Very interesting and new thing. Yeah, I have one question because we are running out of time. Do you think that Metaverse can ensure absolute privacy, since the very identity is based on data, since there are only few stakeholders controlling the entire Metaverse? What's your opinion?
It's a terrific question. It's at the heart of the privacy dilemma in Metaverse. And exactly this is the last slide I was showing. There is no centrally governed attitude towards that. And if it's a platform, it's one thing. But I think that the narrative is going more and more that it will be managed in decentralized way, and it will be managed by the users themselves. All the content which will be on the metaverse will be generated by the users. This is the vision. All the data which will be kept by the users and disclosed only as far as the user wants, subject, however, to the platform rules. And the most important thing is who is the writer of the playbook. Mm-hmm. Now we have black book, yellow book, and green book, which is written by state.
Yeah, so it seems that the privacy will stay alive, even in Metaverse.
Exactly.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mindaugas.
Thank you.
Yeah.